Okay, welcome to the Bendigo Tech School's live streaming Teacher PD sessions. Everything should hopefully be coming through in a second. I'm just checking that things are coming through. Excellent. All right, so I'm just going to switch across from my splash screen there. Let's go to my big head. Hello. So I've set up a different angles today. I'd probably try and find slightly more flattering angles as we work through today. So welcome to the Bendigo Tech School. It's a satellite tech school, also known as my office. I won't bother about the jokes today. Let's just get started. So today's session is all about Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'll do the usual YouTube live spiel that I do, and then we'll get started. So again, we're doing this over YouTube live streaming. So those that are new to us doing this, a couple of things to note. First one is there's about a 20-second delay between my stream and you seeing it. So please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you would like me to go over anything or repeat anything. Just type that in the comments on the side. If you can't comment, that means you haven't signed in. So to use comments on YouTube, you just need to sign in with a Google account if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. But feel free to do that. Let me know that I am sounding good. Hopefully I am. I've got all my equipment all set up correct. Yes, so 20-second delay. So I will get to your question, but it'll probably be just a little bit behind the schedule. Other than that, we should be okay to go. Hopefully, I'm just looking now at the stream quality. It looks pretty good today. You'll be able to see the icons and stuff a little bit better for the live stream. It will automatically save this a live stream so you can watch it back later, potentially at a slower speed because I know I talk very fast. But yes, that'll be fine, and I think we should get ready to go. For those of you that are joining us late, that is okay. You can scrub through the live stream as well. So if you start any live stream that we do, half an hour late or 20 minutes late, that's more than fine. You can still watch it from the start, and you can catch up as we go. So it'll always be ready to go from there. All right, so I think we're okay. No chat saying I have any issues. That's good to go. Please fill out the booking form. I've got the links on the chat there. It's free, obviously. It just helps us in terms of numbers and reporting, which is very good, and it makes Robbie very happy. So that would be awesome. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click away from my giant head because you don't need to see me anymore. All right, now that's a lot of screens to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of clean up my screen a little bit. I'm going to move this across here. So every now and then you might see me turn my head. I'm just checking the stream and making sure it is okay. I'm just going to double check the audio. It's very good, and it makes Robbie very happy. So that would be awesome. Excellent. Okay, so audio is working fine. Mic is working fine. Everything is good. Okay, so yes, you may see me turn my head every now and then to check, but that is just to make sure that things are going okay. Now, I'm running on my larger monitor today, which is good. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move a few of these windows around. Excellent. I'm just going to move my streaming software over here so I can make sure everything is okie dokie. All right, and I'm just going to increase the resolution of my screen to make it a bit easier for you to see everything. So just give us 1 second. All right, and I'm going to increase that scaling size on monitor 2. I'm now just talking to myself. Let's just try 250%. Alrighty, so that should make things a lot easier for you to see. It's going to be a bit trickier for me to work, but that is okay. Alright, I'm just going to bring Premiere across to the other monitor over here. Sorry, I have so many monitors now. I guess first world problems. Alright, there we go. Excellent. So, welcome to Premiere Pro. Let me just check over here. Everything is good. Excellent. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at Adobe Premiere Pro. So this is, as it says in the name, this is professional software for video editing. It's what we use in the tech school with our students most of the time. And I think you'll find that most schools will probably use Premiere Pro. It's part of the Adobe CC package, which we've been looking at for most of the week and into next week as well. And it really is probably the standard video editing platform that you would use if any of your students are doing any kind of video work out of school and they're going into university or into work. They'll be using Premiere Pro or potentially Final Cut as well if it's a Mac studio. I know when I was doing a lot of this kind of stuff, we used Final Cut quite a lot. Final Cut is probably the biggest competitor to Premiere. It is similar but different at the same time, and I'm doing a Final Cut session as well for those of you that are interested that have a Mac. If I picked the two video editors of choice for me personally, I prefer Final Cut. But it does require you needing a Mac, obviously, whereas Premiere works on Mac and Windows machines as well, so it's a bit more universal, which is probably why there's more people use it. So that's my opinion. But we'll get started. Again, I've mentioned this a few times to teachers when they've asked. Creative Suite or Creative Cloud. If you're a DET school, you'll have access to that. There's a specific link on the DET website where you put in your details and your school email, and it'll give you a link to download and register it on your computer. So if you don't have it, you can download it and you have a full registration of it. It's not a demo or anything like that, and your students should probably have access to it too. Other schools, I believe, I'm pretty sure all the schools in Bendigo that we've worked with have this on their machine. So let's get started. Now, I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro 2020, which is the latest version. You may find that you're using 2019. In fact, most schools are going to probably be using 2019. There is a bit of a licensing thing that's happening with Adobe where they're trying to switch their licenses across and get rid of volume licenses, which just basically means a lot of headaches for schools and a lot more money. So at the moment, if you're on 2019, it's more than fine. It generally will look exactly the same as what I have here. A couple of buttons might be in a different spot and you might be missing some features, but I'm not going over any new features today. I'm just going to be going over the basics. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm just going to be showing you the interface and how it works. Just do some real basic editing. And I thought I also might show you a bit of green screening as well, because we spend a fair bit of time at the tech school using Premiere for green screen. We have a very, very nice green screen, or a cyclorama. Sorry, Graham, we have a cyclorama. So I might just show you how to do a bit of green screen work on it as well. Okay, so let's get started. When you start Premiere Pro, now you're going to be seeing the side of my face because I'm looking over here. When you start up Premiere Pro, you'll have basically this intro screen here. If you go into Learn, most Adobe apps will have this. It has a whole bunch of little, I guess, projects that you can check out and see how they work. So if you want to try something and try a bit of help, you can go through any of these projects and have a look at some help on those. But I think the easiest way is just to do a new project. So I'm just going to hit New Project. All right, and it's because I'm using two screens, it's of course going to go over there. Let's switch it across here. So now we have a new project, and basically all this kind of stuff here, do not worry about. You don't need much of that. Other than having your project, I'm just going to call it YouTube temp, okay? This is creating your project file. You'll see down here with your scratch disk, this is kind of important. If you're finding that Premiere Pro is really struggling, again, I've been speaking to a few teachers where they've just installed it on the machines and they have barely any room, you're going to run into a little bit of trouble. You want to have as much free space as possible. They're called scratch disks. And what that is, think of it like a temporary storage space for all this video file that it goes through. So to make Premiere Pro run as best as possible, you do need to have, I would recommend at least 50 gig or so free on your computer. As I look at mine, I've only got 44, but hey, it's close enough. So yeah, if you've got anywhere between 20 to 50 gig free, that's just going to make your process run a lot faster. It's going to make everything render faster and basically work faster as well. You're not going to hit any memory constraints. So try and make sure you've got that. And if you're hitting up issues, that's generally the reason you don't have enough space here. So we'll just go back. We don't need to worry about scratch disks there. So I'm just going to go to File, New, and let's do a new project. All right, and again, it's just putting it over the other screen. Good idea, Adobe. So here we go here. So I'm just going to go and just do that again, YouTube temp, and this is just the name of my project, and I'm going to hit OK. And give it a second to work away, and there we go. All right, so this is our interface. So let me explain the interface. It's very dark. It's designed like that. You know, most editing suites, when people are doing video editing, they're mostly doing it in a very dark room, so they don't really want a bright interface here, okay, like a white bright interface, because yeah, you're doing this in a dark room because we want to make sure the colors are as accurate as possible. And I know, again, at the tech school we have an awesome little media room. What do we call it, Matt? You'll have to tell me. We have a great little media room to the side of our cyclorama that is very dark because they have some very good monitors, really color accurate monitors. So that's why we have a very dark interface here. It should help you out. Now I'm just going to, while we're chatting away, I'm just going to make sure chat is okay. Awesome, chat's okay. So again, use chat. Let me know that everything is going all right. I know most people generally don't use chat. They're very quiet and they like to listen, but I guess that's a good thing, I suppose. Okay, so Workspaces. That's where you adjust how everything looks. Now, again, yours might look different to mine depending on what you're editing. So what I recommend everyone does is go to I'm just going to go to all panels here. I'm just going to reset my workspace. There we go. Back to the original. So if you go up here into your workspaces, these here are, because now it's in kind of like editing mode. So it's not changing the program per se, it's just changing the screens and showing you different stuff. So things that you would use more if you were in editing, okay? But for the sake of us, so everyone's on the same page when you do this yourselves, I'm just gonna go to all panels, and that way it's a bit messy. There's a lot of stuff here I wouldn't use, but at least now we're all on the same, I guess, the same page. So that's your workspace. And if you do end up accidentally moving one of these around, which you can, change one of these, you can get them in the wrong order, you can take a panel off and lose it. Again, what I would do is just go workspace, and then you can just reset it back to that original kind of layout as well. So if you ever get lost, that's my big tip. Okay, so what do we have here? So let me show you. What I might do is I'm going to import some media, and that'll be helpful. I'm going to import some green screen footage because that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to dump it over here just because then it allows me to do a bit more. Okay, so first things first. I'll put this in my editing panel. There we go. Wow, look at me. They're so young there. Okay, so what we have is, we have down here, I guess the third thing I just used is our down here is, I guess I call it our media browser. Okay, so down here you can see where your computers are, your hard disk as well. But over here is my project. And what we have is all of the media I'm using in my current project. Okay, so be it images, be it videos, you can put all that in here, audio files, you drag them into here. Think of it like a little drawer, a little cupboard for all the media that you're going to use. Okay, it doesn't make a copy of it, it's just referencing where it is. So I just had that on my desktop. So this is just basically referencing where it is on the desktop. And if I click on that, it'll tell me all the info about it. It's going to tell me what kind of video it is, the frames, the duration, all that kind of stuff as well. And I can also go through and do some changes there. But that's what we have down here. So anything you want to use in your settings, I'm just going to drag something. I don't even know what you have here. I think this is some stuff I did the other day from some other classes. Let me just drag that in there. I'm just going to import that. I'll move that out of the way. All right, so once we have that down there, well, that's not a good thing. Once we have that down there, I should probably mention while this is spinning around right now, Premiere Pro, there we go. Premiere Pro does have a tendency to be a little crashy. I know every time I use it, I always have issues. So it does have a bit of an auto save, but I would definitely be saving your work quite often, okay? Especially if it's a really big project, because it does have a tendency to crash because there is a lot going on. But anyway, so here is all our videos and audio. So it is all our media. All right. Down here, okay, this is our timeline. And what we have here is, this is where our video is going to go. This is our editing area. Okay, so you can see I dragged that video in, and now I can kind of scrub between that, and I can see that and hear that video actually up and down through here. Okay, so I've placed it in there. And then what we have here, our video tracks and our audio tracks. Okay, and think of them like layers, because that's what they are. So I've got audio 1, 2, 3 and video 1, 2, 3, and you can have as many as you like as well. So if we were looking at any kind of video that was getting made, let's just say, I don't know, a movie, they would probably have 20 or 30 of these video layers here. So I'll explain that a little bit later. We're just going to be using the one for now. So they're all my video layers. I can turn them on and off if I want to. I can rearrange the order by dragging them around, but we're just going to leave them there. There's my video, there's my audio, okay? And I can scrub between that, and I can also zoom in and out by using this bottom one down here, okay? So I can zoom right in and see individual frames, or I can zoom it all the way out and make it a bit smaller. And there's my timeline, obviously, that I'm working with at the top there, okay? So that is our timeline there. Then up here, we have our video. Wow, what a great spot to pause. We have our outputted video, okay? So this is what the video is gonna look like after we make any changes or edits or cuts or add some effects in there. This is the final kind of, I guess, output of that video, all right? Over here, this is our control panel. So if I select my video file here, and I go into my effect controls, now I can kind of see everything. There are my options to do some changes to that video file there, okay? And as you scroll through here, you can see they've got a lot more, I guess, settings through here as well. So they're all of your effects for that video. Now they call them effect controls, okay? We're not talking about special effects, but they're affecting the video, or making changes to the video, and that's all down the side there, okay? So that's pretty much it. Down here as well, we can go through and we can find certain effects. So we kind of almost have a, if I go and down here is where I can actually find some other effects, okay? Like, I might put a green screen effect on. They're all down in your panel down the right there, and then you drag them across, and then once they're dragged across, you control them with your left panel, okay? So you find your effects and your transitions and everything on the right side, and then you make your changes to those on the left side, all right? Hopefully that's pretty clear. It is a bit tricky, but you'll get your head around it once we start to use it. Okay, so what we have here is our video. Now this is probably a good one to explain, and I explain it a lot to the kids as well. So let's have a look here. So I drag my video in. I'm going to make a cut here. And so let's just kind of cut a bit of this footage here. So I'm just going to get my blade out. Oops, I'm just going to select it. All right. Okay, so I'll select my footage. And I'm just going to make a bit of a cut. So I've pressed C. So you can see down here we have these slide controls. So I have obviously my selection tool to select certain video files in here. I have track forward, track back, ripple. I've got my razor tool, or blade tool, I guess you could call it. So your blade tool, obviously it's a cutting tool, right, to make edits, to make cuts. Called a blade tool because, you know, back in the day when you were actually making cuts to video footage, when video was on, you know, video, when it was on film, it was on like reel-to-reel stuff. If you wanted to make an edit, you would actually literally cut the film, okay, cut that bit out and then sticky tape it back together, and then you've made your edit. So we have a cut there. So that's what we have our little razor blade. So I'm going to make a cut here and a cut here, and I'm going to press V to select again. I'm going to select the bit I cut out. I'm going to delete it. Okay, so now I've cut out a bit of my film footage, right? What I can do is I can then push that together so it runs seamlessly. Obviously there's a bit of a jump there because I cut it, but it still runs seamlessly between the two. Okay. Now, what is important here and what is important to understand is that's my original video file, all right? And this is what I've done to it now. I've made that cut to it, but I haven't actually edited the original video file, okay? I haven't cut it. I haven't, you know, taken a bit out, deleted it, and saved over that video file. So if I went back and double-click that video on my desktop, it's going to be missing that bit of footage. It's not. It doesn't work like that. So how to explain that is Premiere, like most video editing software, is what's called non-destructive editing. So you make edits, you make changes, you do whatever you like, you add titles to it, okay? But you never affect the underlying or the original media that you've put in there. What you do when you're done, so once you're done and you've made your edit and you're finished with your final, it's another bad place for it, and you finish your final film and you're happy with it, all your cuts are made, all of your edits are in there, then what you do is you render that out and create a whole new video clip. Okay, so you never actually edit or delete or do anything to your originals. They're always going to be there. So if you want to go back and make a new edit down the line, your original footage is there. It hasn't been touched. Okay, you make new footage. So that's what we're seeing here. So when you save a Premiere file, you're not saving over any of the video. You're not even saving video. What you're saving is all of the edits and the settings that you've made in Premiere to those videos. All right, and that's why where the videos are stored is also very important, because if I went and deleted this video that I'm referencing here, okay, in this video project, and I open it up a week later and it's not where it used to be, then I'm in trouble. Okay, I'll have to find that original video clip and put it in. It gives you the option to do that, but that's really important to understand. Okay, I should check chat and make sure everyone is okay. Everyone is understanding me and we're all good. Chat seems to be good. No one's saying anything. I must be amazing and very, very clear. Wonderful. Okay, so let me head back over here. So that's really important. Okay, non-destructive editing. Any change I make is not going to affect the original footage. Okay, so let's talk about some effects. So first up, we'll go over here to your basic effects that you have, I guess, by default whenever you put in a bit of footage. All right, so down here we have some real simple stuff like position and scale. So I can increase that, I can decrease it, okay? I can move the position of the footage. All right, so you can see where I'm, running out of, there's that black space, that's the end of my footage there. So another thing that's really important, and I think we can do it these days, is when you film, you're always better off filming in the highest resolution that you can. All right, so we at the tech school have 4K cameras, Matt. We've got 8K cameras, I guess, with the 360 cam. So I would be always trying to film in the highest resolution you can, because that means when you go into editing, you can do things like I just did then, and I can zoom in to certain areas, right? Like let's say I wanted to zoom in and move me across here. I can do that without actually losing a lot of quality, okay? Because I have such a high resolution to begin with. So I'm doing a 1080p edit here, so a high definition edit, but with 4K video, which means I can move it around, all right? You can never add video after the fact. So you're better off having a much higher resolution video that allows you to do things like this. So you can scale in and scale out and move around. So that's what that is there. And you'll notice it only affects, any changes I do only happens to the selected clip. So they're two clips. So if I go across to this one, it's back where it was, okay? So those changes only affect the clip that I've selected. Obviously rotation, I can move myself around that I probably want to. I've got to select the clip first. Go to rotation, there we go. Let's kind of, that's a little bit tricky. I'll just undo that. You've got your anchor points we'll talk about a little bit later. Your opacity obviously brings down the opacity of that video. All right. And then you've got your volume controls here as well, which probably are good for me. I should probably bring my volume down by default. So I'm controlling that separate volume there as well. All right, so they're kind of the default, I guess, effects that you have to a clip when you select it. There is something else we have here, which are these little stopwatches. Okay, now they're for animation. So you can also animate anything you do. You can animate your film, you can animate effects you put on it, you can make them move around the scene, and I'll show you a little bit later. And you do that by clicking it, making a keyframe, and then moving it. But I won't, yes, I'll delete. You want to, yes. So I'll explain animation in a second when I do another layer. That's what our animation is down there as well. All right, so that is basically the layer. That's our panel here. That's most of what I use. There are stacks more, obviously, but I generally don't use a lot of stuff. Now down here, I'll talk about how these work. So if we go into our effects down here, if we want to go into something, let's go into a video transition. I'm just going to hit the down box there. I'll try and find a page peel. Let's just do a simple transition. I'm going to drag that across. I'm going to put it here. Okay. And you can see, I might just zoom in a little bit here. You can see it's made that transition there by me dragging it onto my footage. And now I've got that transition. So if I play this, you might even see, whoa, there's my page peel. Okay. And there's, I obviously rotated that. So let me just put that back to 0. So it's placed that kind of like that page peel transition on there for you. All right. Again, it hasn't affected the original video. It's just adding that effect on there. All right. And that's because I have a transition. You have other effects in here as well. I'm going to put in an Alt key because I'm going to use it a little bit later. So you can find your effect by just typing it in. All right. Or by using the drop down through here and trying to find kind of exactly what you need. But I'm just going to put in an Alt key. So Ultra. And I'm going to drag that. I'll drag it onto my second bit of footage here. All right. So once you drag it on there, it doesn't actually do anything. Okay. Whenever you drag an effect on, transitions will work straight away, but effects generally won't. So once you drag it on there, what it's done, like I said before, is if you go to the left now, you'll see it's added that option for an Alt key in this side panel. So find your effects here, drag them on your footage, and then make your changes here on the left. All right. So far, so good. Now let me just show you a couple of things while we're playing around with this. So I'll try and show you some layers. All right, let's add a couple of layers in. So layers, how can I explain layers? So layers are like in Photoshop, okay, with like you have say transparent, let's say you have transparent bits of plastic and you put them on top of each other. Whatever's on the top layer, you can see below to the bottom layer as long as there's space around there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump across here. I'm going to find, I'm just going to get an image off the internet. I'm going, and I guess if anyone's been following what I'm doing, you probably know exactly what kind of image I'm going to be finding. All right, let's go here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this image as a separate layer. Now, your images or your layers don't have to be images. They can be video. They can be anything really. So you can add any layer you like and as many layers as you like. So I'm just going to download this cat. Oh, I gave it away. All right. And I'm going to add that into my project as it downloads quite slowly. All right. Let's move that across here. Importing my cat. Okay. I'm going to get my cat and I'm going to drag it over my video footage. I'll put it here. There we go. Ah, giant cat. It's like an episode of The Goodies. Now, so you can see that's on top of the video footage. So I can see it. I can see my video footage under it. If I had it on the layer below, okay, so let's just move it down here and put my video layer above it, okay, you can see you can't see that cat anymore because my footage is covering it. All right, so I'm going to just bring that back down again. So there's my cat, my giant cat. It had a transparent background, okay, which is why I can see behind it. All right, so transparency, if you're trying to find stuff with transparency, you can either do it yourself. I'm just checking that. You can do it yourself by simply, going in Photoshop and getting an image and get rid of the background, or you can just like do a Google search for PNG files. PNG image files generally have a transparency. All right, so now my cat is there. Let's go back to these controls. So I've selected that bit of footage, and here are the controls for my cat. I can change the scale. I can bring, sorry, I didn't need that. I can bring him down. I can move him over here. All right, so now he's sitting over here. So I can do whatever I like there. I can rotate him around. All right. And you can see the duration of that cat. So this bar here is showing you how long that clip's going to go for. So I can drag it and make it as long as I like or make it as short as I like. Okay, and then it disappears. All right. So let me just bring it all the way across to here. So I'm going to make it fill out this first bit of the clip. So here's my second layer. All right. Now let me show you animation while I've got the cat here. I was talking about before. So any of these items over here, if they've got a stopwatch next to them, you can animate them by using keyframing. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to go into position and I'm going to turn that keyframe on. So now I've made a keyframe. I've made like a stamp, right? And then I'm going to go all the way over to the end of my footage just before I transition, and I'm going to grab my little cat, and I'm going to change the position and move it all the way over here. All right, and I should have made another keyframe. There we go. Okay, so now you can see in this panel here, that bit of animation, I made one keyframe at this position, and then I made another keyframe at this position, right? So that you can see it's in a different spot there by changing that number. And so then the software is just animating between the two. So it's going, well, as you see, it just auto-saves them. If it was at this point at this time and this point at that time, well, I'm going to make it move across. All right. So now we have our little cat sliding across. Now, anytime across there, I might grab my cat and I might actually move him up. So you can see I've made this little, this little, what we call it, a little graph. And now I'm changing the curve of that movement. So I've added another keyframe now. So now, as we go across, you can see it kind of does that arc, right? Because it's following that arc that we go through. So this is just keyframing. I can set a whole bunch of frames and I can make stuff kind of move around. So, you know, I can make a bird fly into the scene. I can make explosions. I can do all those kind of things and I can animate them. All right. That's your keyframing. And it does work on every single element, like I said. So I might keyframe my scale and I might bring the scale up now. And so now he's going to kind of like slide between being a tiny, tiny cat. All right. Yeah. And a larger cat as we kind of go through, and then I might make him tiny again over here. So, you know, things like playing around with scale, and I might even move him up. Where is my little cat? By changing scale and those kind of things as well, you can make it look like something's going in, you know, in and out of that screen. Even though it's a 2D image, it looks like the cat's coming closer to me, right? By playing with scale. So there we go. So that's and there we go, he's going back. So that's your animation there, okay, in that kind of track there. Awesome, cool beans. All right, we're getting there. Let me just check. Chat. All good. Very quiet chat as usual. Okay, so let us continue on. So that's our layers. Now I can add as many of those layers as I want. I can add as many cats as I want. I can add another cat over here. So now we have 2 cats. You can never have too many cats. Hey, Graham. So we can keep kind of adding these in, and you can see as I make more layers are appearing here. Okay, and I can kind of change them where they're going to move. I'll change the scale down. So now it is just Cat City. All right, we'll bring him over here. And we'll move him there. All right. So that's kind of how the basis of this is working, right? We're adding in layers. We're putting them on top of other video footage. We can make edits and we can make cuts as we move along. All right. What's the time? Okay, cool. We've got about 15 more minutes. So let me show you a couple of other things that we can do in here. And then I'm going to let you have a play with this, and we'll come back to this later in the week or next week. All right? Because now that I've probably shown you enough of the interface, it's enough for you to start to have a play with it and see how you go. So let us go to here, and I'm going to do another edit. All right, so this one over here. So let me show you that green screening. So in this bit of footage here, I added what was called an ultra key. I added a green screening effect. Now, to explain green screening, it's pretty easy. So what you have is you have a green screen. That's our old cyclorama in this video. It looks much better now. I still look the same, I'm afraid. But what you have with green screening is it's basically what's called a chroma key or a key color. So what you're doing is you are using the software to say, if you pick this key color, if you see this key color in my software, in my video, I want you to not render it. Okay, don't show me that key. I'm just gonna turn it off. Don't show me that that key color. I don't want to see it in my video footage. Okay, and we use green because, well, I mean, we use lots of colors these days, but generally green because that color green doesn't appear, you know, naturally in nature. So I'm not going to accidentally get rid of a color of my video that I don't want to remove. Okay, so studios will use green screen. They'll also use a blue screen as well. Look, any color will work. Okay, so if your students want to do this at home, they can simply paint a wall green, or they could just be in front of a wall that is one flat color. So if they're in front of a white wall, you could use that for a green screen, but what will happen, of course, is it will remove everything that's white. So if they have any kind of white on their clothes, that will go as well. So that's why white isn't a great color. Okay, but anyway, so it's a really easy project that students can do at home, you know, to do the whole kind of newsroom style thing. So I've got that Ultra key on there, and because I dropped it onto my film footage, if I scroll down to my effect controls, you can see I now have it here. So now I'm going to change some of the settings. I'm going to get my eyedropper. I'm going to pick that green, and we'll give it a second. All right, let's just try that again. It didn't like that. What's going on? Maybe I'll have to just do it. I'll do it manually. It didn't like the eyedropper. All right, there we go there. So normally the eyedropper works. I'm not sure. I'm going to try that one more time. The eyedropper is not working for me today. No. Okay, so normally how the eyedropper works is it actually picks a color. So I'm moving this across and I can actually, oh, there you go. It's working for my shirt. For some reason it doesn't want to work for that green. Really weird. But yeah, generally it picks a color out of the scene and it will get rid of that color. That's what your eyedropper does. But for some reason it's not working for me today. So I'm just going to manually pick quite a matching green if I can. That looks pretty close. All right. There we go there. Okay, so now it's removed all of that green. All right. So we can kind of see how it works here. Now let's just make this work a bit better. I'm going to go back to the internet and I'm going to find a new background to be in. I'm going to go. All right. I'm just going to find an image of. Let's find something. Where do I want to be? Oh, that looks lovely. I'll be there. Actually, no, I don't want to be there. I'm going to be. Now I'm just talking to myself, aren't I? All right, let me get this image here. I'm just going to save image as. I won't go into a whole spiel of copyright and those kind of things. In terms of getting images, you can do that with your students another day. Okay, let me just save that. All right, now I'm just going to bring this across. Importing it, excellent. So now I have my new image and I'm going to drag that here. All right, there's my beach. Okay, but like I said, it needs to be below this. I'm going to move that up and I'm going to put my beach under there. There we go. Oh, look at that. I'm at a beach. So you can see how simple that is. Now I'm just going to scrub forward a little bit. Let me just move my timeline so I can see a bit more. All right, I'm just going to increase the length of that so it covers that video. And you'll also notice it's a bit small, so I'm going to make sure it's selected and I'm going to scale that up. There we go. All right, so now I'm at the beach. Lovely. Wouldn't it be a nice place to be right now? It's really freezing in Macedon. So you can see I'm over there. Now, if you look closely, it might not be coming up as good in the stream. I'm just going to make sure that was not important. No, cool. So you might not catch this in the stream. It might be a bit compressed. But what we're seeing here when I move around is you're noticing, well, I am anyway, some of the shadows through here. So when we use the green screen color, it's going to remove everything of that color, okay? So if you have shadows in your green screen, and our old cyclorama did, it had some shadowing in it, it's much better now. But if it has some shadows in it like that there, okay, you'll see that because it's a different color than the green that we chose. That's why I'm starting to see some of those kind of background things there. So you can actually fix that up a little bit. I'm going to select my film footage, go down to my green screen here, and do a bit of cleanup to hopefully just get rid of some of that. I don't want to blur me too much. I'm just going to try and clean up a little bit. I might not be able to do it. Well, that's not bad there. So I'm starting to clean up a little bit of that shadow. I'm going to soften it too much. You can see I'm starting to eat into my image there, right? All right, so we can start to kind of clean that up a little bit. The other thing I can do to make this a little bit better, especially because I can see most of the shadowings down here, is I might even crop a bit of my footage. So that's another effect. I'm just going to go in here and type in crop. I'm going to put a crop on that footage there. And now you can see I've got crop effects that have just popped up on my left. And I'm just going to apply, obviously I don't want too much of a crop, right? I don't want to get rid of me. I'm going to cut some off there. I'll cut some off the right. I'm just going to cut some off the top. All right. And I'll cut some off the bottom. So I've kind of cleaned up a bit of that. You can see, really start to see that shadowing I was talking about now. So I might even just feather that a bit. There we go, and try and just kind of clean it up. All right, not perfect, but hey, it's okay for the internet. All right, so you can see now I'm floating around at a beach. Wonderful. So there's our bit of green screen. So that, obviously those effects don't work on the here because on here because I haven't edited this footage. I've only edited this footage. Okay, the second you make a cut, it makes a new clip. So now I'm sitting here in a green screen. And away we go. Okay, so that's just showing you how you can layer different layers, different effects, and start to make some new footage. Okay. Now you don't just have to use an image. You can use video as well. So you can layer video over video, or put some green screen over another video. So for instance, smoke effects or explosions or those kind of things. You can do that by adding layers over your video footage. I could make an explosion appear in the background by putting it in the right spot, scaling it down, and if that video has some animation or some playback, it'll play back there as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it. All right, so you can see we might just go over really quickly what I've done, and then I'm going to show you how to render the footage out. So you have your final video, and then that'll be it. We'll call it a day. I'll give you the last 15 minutes of today's hour session to definitely number one, fill out that event booking link. I've plugged it enough today, and a survey, but also have a play with this yourself and see how you go. So let's go back to the start. So what did we learn? So we learned about our media library over here where we add all of our media footage. Okay, so that can be video, audio, it can be whatever you like. You just basically drag and drop it in there, okay? It doesn't copy it unless you have that setting turned on. It's just linking it to where it is sitting originally on your desktop or on your computer. And then we can drag that footage into our workspace over here, into our timeline. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about the fact that when we put footage in our timeline, we're actually not editing that footage, okay? It's just a link to it, and Premiere Pro is non-destructive, so it's just making changes, but it's not changing our original footage, which is really important. That's down there. We talked about how we have all of these effects on the side. Effects can be like cropping and green screening and audio effects. We drag those onto the footage we want to change, and then the settings for that change are on the left side over here in our controls. So we drag an effect across. It doesn't do anything until we go to the left, and then turn it on and make some changes, okay? And then we have our output here. So this is our output. This is what the final film will look like once it's rendered. This here is not I guess, a rendered film. It's just kind of like an example, a proxy bit of film, okay? And depending on what kind of computer you're working with, will be how this kind of, this little, I guess, example, this little, well, I'm not used to my words today. This little preview window sounds good. This preview of how the footage will work, sometimes it might be a bit slower to update depending on your computer speed. Because what it's doing is it's applying all of these effects on the fly to show you what it could look like, because it's actually not rendered yet. All right, we talked about that. We talked about adding in our layers and how layering order is important. We also talked about how we can animate whatever we put in as well, and we can change the viewpoint. We can make them move across. All right, so that's pretty much it there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to save your file and render it out, and then I'm going to let you go and have a play with it. So first up, I guess if I go and save this, all right, what it's doing is it's saving, as you can see up here, it's saving the Premiere Pro project, okay? So it's not saving any changes I've made to my footage, because that doesn't do that, but what it's done is it's saved all of this stuff here. It's saved where I put in cuts and edits and where I added a video and where I took a video away. It's just saving all of that as a bunch of links, and they're all kind of sitting there as well. So if I save that, that's all I'm saving. I'm not saving the video. To save the video, let's just say I'm happy with it. I'm done. I want to share this video. It's the most amazing piece of video I've ever seen in my life. Then what you need to do is you need to render it. All right. So we go up here and we go down into. I'm trying to find it. So I'll just save that, and I'm going to go down. Oh, it's because I've changed my screen size. I couldn't find it. All right, and then we're going to go into export. Okay, so export allows us to now make a final version of this video. So I'm going to export the media. All right. Now that's on the other screen. I'm going to bring it across. Okay, so let's drag it across here. So this is kind of important. Now let me explain a lot of this. This is why I wanted to leave this to the end. So now we're going to export this. Oh, what a bad point to stop on. Let's find something. I just look terrible in all of them. This is our footage, and we can see what it looks like. You can see it's rendering a version of it there, right? Just an example. So what we're going to do now is we're going to save this new video file, okay? This new version of our edits. Everything's rendered, put together, all those cuts and edits are made, and it's going to create a new video file, all right? So it's not as easy as just going File, Export, and you have a video file. I mean, it kind of is. I can just do Export now. But when it comes to video, there are a whole bunch of different formats. So it can be a little confusing. Now, by default, if you did this on your Premiere Pros and you've never used it before, you might be having this sitting on AVI, I'm guessing. All right, you might be sitting on AVI. That's a video format, a very old video format. All right, and you can see what it's going to do. If I export it as an AVI, it's actually going to output it at a very low resolution, 720 by 480, because that's as good as that codec can support, okay? So AVI is very old, all right? It was used a long time ago. It was a very huge file size, but it wasn't very high def because there was no high definition when people were doing AVI. So you can see that we don't want to use that, all right? What I'm going to do is there's a whole bunch down here. I'll only explain a couple of them. So AVI is probably what you've got by default, all right? Get off that one straight away. The next two that you're probably going to look at using is H.264 and H.265, okay? So H.264, if I click on that, it's a more current video codec, okay? It's generally what you'll find in most videos today. The compression rate is really good, which means your video size is smaller in terms of like space, okay? So it's not a huge, massive gigabyte file. It's, quite small, but also the resolution is quite high. So it's at full high def resolution, 920 by 1080. So that's what most people will use, and that's probably going to give you the best playback. All right, so H.264 will play back on basically anything. Recently, and I'm talking about the past couple of years, we now have a new format called H.265, okay? Now, this is a high efficiency video codec. That's what HEVC stands for. And so now what we have is we have all of the same stats as we had before, Okay, it's still 1920 by 1080. The difference is it's compressed at a much higher rate. So we're getting probably about half the file size. In fact, let's have a look. If I go to H.264, you can see it's got 73 meg, and H.265, I've got 50 meg. Okay, not a huge difference, I guess. It's only a small video clip. But that will really change. Look, let's go back to my AVI. So you going to give me an example? No, it's not even going to tell me how big that sucker's going to be. Let's try uncompressed. No. I've got my spinning paper wheel. I shouldn't have played too much with it. Let me just let that hopefully come back. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So, like I said, this happens a lot. So, don't send. There we go. There goes Premiere. So, let me just open up Premiere again. So, I guess that's good. I showed you, I warned you at the start that happens a lot, hey? It does crash. So, there you go. It crashed for me. It's almost like I set that up. I didn't. So I'm just going to open up Premiere again. So that's why you want to be saving a lot. Now, hopefully, if this would have just saved my project. Let's go to Open Recent. I'm just going to do it over here. Open Recent Project. YouTube 10. Let's see how we go. Let's see how much we lost. Oh, we're back. Okay, cool. All right, so we're back here. And now I'm back. All right, so there you go. I gave you a quick lesson on Premiere Pro crashing a lot. So let's go back to export. I do find a lot that it does crash a lot in the exporting options. I don't know why. Every time I go to export Premiere, I always find that's where it dies. So always save before you go to export. So now I'm just trying to export, and now it's just like, you can hear my computer spinning up. Let's just try that again. Export media. No, it's not happy now. All right, let me try one more time. Well, this is going to make a great video if I can't do it. Alright, I'm just going to kill Premiere again and try and bring it up and bring up my video file. Well, at least I'm showing you how it really works, right? Okay, so I'm just going to reload Premiere and I'm just going to try and get that working again. Open Recent. Okay, let's try and export that file. And I won't play around with the export settings anymore. Media. No, it's really not happy. File. Okay, there we go. I got it up. All right, so I'm just going to bring that over here. So we're back. So like I said, it does tend to crash a lot in exporting media. I'm not sure why. So I'm not going to play around with these anymore. So all I'm going to say here is that you have a whole bunch of different compression formats, a whole bunch of different media formats, okay? But I would stick with H.264. Like I said, 265 is better. The compression is better, okay? But it's not as widely accepted in terms of playback. It is fairly new, even though it's a couple of years old. So not all devices will play it back, whereas H.264, most devices will play that back. Okay, so let's do that. H.264, so I've got it on there. I've got all my settings ready to go. I can play around with a few things down here. I can change the resolution if I want to. I can turn audio on and off. I can change the kind of audio I'm using. All right, so there's quite a lot you can do here, but I'm not going to worry about any of that. And I'm just going to hit export. And away it goes. So now what it's doing is now it's rendering. So now it's getting all of those changes that we made to the video files, all those separate video files, the new stuff that we added, and now think of it like it's now combining it all together, it's watching it, and it's recording it, right? And so now it's making a new video file, all right? So we saw a preview of that in that window, but now it's actually making it final. It's making a final video file. Your computer fans will speed up because it's doing a fair bit of work here, and it's going to make your final video. So we're nearly done. Again, depending on the speed of your computer, that's going to change a lot on how this works. So faster computers, rendering time is faster. Okay, if your computer is like 5 or 6 years old, then this rendering time is probably going to be about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so just bear that in mind. All right, so I've exported that, and let me just see if I can find where that video exported to. I don't want to mess too much with it. It should just be back in basically where you saved it. It should be sitting there in that export option. So I'm just going to go into Adobe. And let's see if I can find my export. This is probably making amazing viewing while I'm sitting here and trying to find my video. I probably should have looked where it exported. No, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to save some time and see where I exported it. I was just wary that it was going to crash again. Export media. Where did I put it? I put it on the desktop. Okay, wonderful. All right, let me go to the desktop. Okay, desktop. I have too much stuff on the desktop. Okay, and we'll bring that across here. I'm just going to bring that over here. Let me just bring everything down. And let's just see our final video footage of our amazing video that we made. All right, I'll bring that across. And let's just view it.
Recording.
Hi. I've got notes.
There we go.
In case I forget the things I have to say. Welcome to...
There's our amazing video. I don't know if you can hear that. I'll turn it down. There's that video. So we can see our animations working, we can see our cat working, we can see the green screen. It's at the full resolution that we had it exported. And oh yeah, I quite like my cat. And then as we jump across, there we are in our little film over there. Actually looks pretty good. I look all right. You can see I'm moving back and forth because I would have to change that. But I even like the way the shadows come on the ground there. I could make little splashes if I wanted to. I don't know, maybe I can walk on water, Robbie. Anyway, so there you go. There's our final video file. All right. So you haven't affected the original video files. They're still sitting there. They're still exactly where we left them. We haven't made any edits to them. Now we've made a new video file. And that, my friends, in the internet is, I'll close that down, is Adobe Premiere Pro. So we learned a lot today. We learned basically the intros, how to do it, how to do some basic editing, and then how to export that. We learned that Premiere Pro is a bit crashy, so make sure you save all of your work as you go, make versions of it so you're okay. And that's it. We made a very basic little green screen video. So for moving on from here, I would recommend having a go with Premiere. Use maybe some of the tutorial files, have a play with that. And again, make a little green screen video for your students. You're at home now. Maybe the next video you make for them, you can have a bit of a backdrop, you can be at the beach. So yes, so have a go at doing that, please. And also, please fill out our surveys for today's session. So I will put the survey link in the chat, and I'll also put it, actually look, I'm going to do it right now while I've got you. I'm going to just like talk for a little bit and pad while I bring up that survey link because YouTube always removes it for me. And I want you to fill out the survey, please. It would make everyone feel better. It would make me feel better. It would make Robbie feel better. I'm going to do it. Look at it. I'm going to get the link right now as I'm talking. Hopefully you're still there. Okay. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to put it in the chat. So if everyone can, who's listening, there we go there. So please fill out that quick survey on our quick session today. If you do fill out the survey and if you do book in, we can get you a certificate, I believe, Robbie. So this will count as your PD hours. So thank you so much for your time today. As I have been doing in the past, let's have a bit of a plug to what we have coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow we are starting our masterclasses on Illustrator. So if you loved the Adobe session today, and why wouldn't you, tomorrow we are going to be doing Illustrator. I'm going to bring up, you don't want to see me just staring at the screen, so why don't I bring up, let's do that. Let's go to my channel. I'm going to bring this tab across here so you can see what I'm talking about while you're all busy doing that survey. Thank you very much. So tomorrow we have our first masterclass in Illustrator, one of my favorite programs. Illustrator is a vector design program. So we're going to be talking about how Illustrator works, and this will be a 3, possibly 4 week. We're going to do 1 session a week, which will end up, what are we doing? Oh yeah, so there's our beginner, and then we have our intermediate on the 14th, and on the 21st we have the master advanced classes. So that is all about how we can basically create things in vector design to then produce and make in advanced manufacturing like laser cutting and CNC machines. So that's tomorrow. And then the following week, big week, we have coding in Scratch block coding. We have Final Cut if you like doing the Premiere Pro today, but want a program that isn't not as buggy and doesn't crash anywhere near as much, and you have a Mac, then we'll do Final Cut, which will be a good session. Then podcasting to teach your students how to create a free podcast from home, which will be helpful in these times. And then we have the rest of our Illustrator masterclasses. So that is it from me. Thank you very much for filling out that survey. See what I did there? And I'm now going to end the stream, and I will talk to you tomorrow, potentially. So let me just see if I can see that. There I can. All right, so I'll see you later. Thanks for joining me, and